Hello everybody, welcome back to Bare Basic Tech. Today we're going to be going over simple hello world styled print statements. So this is just to show you guys essentially a very simple rundown of what the print statement is for and how you can essentially use it to just put things into your console for you to be able to read it easily. So let's go ahead and get started. So just a first simple example, just go ahead and read what I have here in this line. It's just basically saying print, and then the only argument it will take is, in this example, this text. So when you hit play, it's just going to simply print out your text here, right? So just understand that all you're seeing is this print statement, and then whatever is inside the parentheses is what will be output, right? So another example, just hello world, and there it is. All right, so moving on. So another way you can produce a print statement to do a similar task is just to make a variable, right? And then assign some text to that variable. So to print that variable out, we would simply put the variable itself in the parentheses for the print statement, which will effectively do the same thing. So as you can see there, it'll print that hello world that you see up here when it's originally assigned to string variable. Moving on down to this example with a list variable. So again, similar concept. We're just taking a list of a couple different things. So we have, for one item, test, we have a number 1, and we have some text, right? Just to give you an example. So when you print that list out, it'll go ahead and list that out like so, right? So yes, you can use lists, you can use variables, all just to print to the console, right? Another example would be you can also use integers. I know I didn't cover that, but just to show you. So see, like 1, you can still do that. So now moving on to this class example here. So I just give a simple example of a class for the sake of just showing you guys what the print statement can do with it. So if you don't know what a class is, don't worry about it too much for here, but just to show you that, like, what will happen if you try to print an object of a class, right? So test is an instance of this. So when you hit play, it'll give you this, right? Which is basically the memory space that class or that object of the class is stored at, right? So basically it'll just tell you that this is an object that falls under this class template, which is as such here, right? Now, let's say you want to print out a variable that falls within that object, right? So all you would do is just to access, for example, testable. Let's say we want to get that variable, right? You would just simply type test.testable, and then the program basically understands that you're taking the instance called test and you want to see the variable inside of it called testable, which in this case is a string written as testing. So when you hit play, likewise, you'll get testing as the output, right? So next I'm going to go over with you guys escape characters. So what these are special characters used in strings to modify them in certain ways. So in this first example, I have this /n here in the middle of my string. And what this is essentially going to do is it'll print hello world for me, and then it'll split this to be on a separate line, right? So now if you run that, as mentioned, it'll put hello world, and I'm on a new line on separate lines. Just to show you, if I get rid of that, right, it'll still put it all on the same line. So that's why, just in case for some reason you want them to be separated out, you can go ahead and put that /n there and it'll do it for you. Also, there's a couple other things that it can do for you. So for example, quotation marks. So if I run it where I have a slash and then a quotation mark, it'll print an actual quotation mark. Now, you're wondering why that's needed. Well, let's say I go ahead and I say I want to put in a quotation mark somewhere in my string, so I put it here, let's say, and I want that to be a part of the string for whatever reason. You'll notice, however, when I do that, my editor gives me this whole red squiggly line basically trying to hint at me like you're doing something wrong. And this is because when it reads this, it thinks this is the end of your text that you're trying to print, but then it sees you have a bunch of other text still here. So it's all messed up in its mind, right? So that's why you have to give it the escape character, which again is this slash. So now when I run it, again, it'll give you that quotation mark. Likewise, you can do the forward slash itself, right? Let's say you want that in there for some reason. You can also do that, but you just have to write it twice so that you use the escape character to identify that you want to actually write a slash. And it's as simple as that. So why would this be useful in, beyond a beginner's scope? Well, it's kind of nice because really what printing is for at the end of the day is for debugging, right? So in PyCharm, you have this little tool up here that kind of goes through a line by line for you, but let's just say you don't have that and you have the bare basic IDE and you're just trying to get by with the minimum that you have. And also sometimes the console isn't very helpful with necessarily explaining to you where your problems are, right? So what you can use with print statements is it can show you what the computer understands a certain variable is assigned as at any given time in your program, and if it even reached that point in the program. So for example, let's say we have these 4 lines of code, right? So when I run it, it's going to give me an error, right? Now let's say I don't know why. I just know that the code isn't working and I don't know where in here it failed. So what you can do is you can start by writing print statements that will check where it failed, basically. So like print check 1. You'll notice here it outputs check 1, meaning it made it that far at least. So let's try printing check 2 after that first line. And it succeeds at reaching check 2. Succeeds at check 3. Oh, it didn't make it to check 4. So we know that there must be an issue in between check number 3 and check number 4, which obviously never happened. So it's something with this. So there's a clear error here in this line, why it's tripping an error, and that's because for variable 3, we're trying to assign it to 5,000, but we have a minus mark, or a minus character there accidentally. So if we change that out, change it to an equal sign, now that should work, right? But oh no, we have another error. So let's go ahead and see if this will catch it as well. So again, it makes it to check 4, but it still doesn't make it to check 5, right? So we know that, yet again, the error is somewhere within here. So the error that I can see from this case, right, is we're trying to add 2 items here to be printed. So let's go look at variable 1, right? So total money in an account, okay? And then variable 2, 4,000. So question, why is it not going to let me add these 2 together? Well, the simple answer here is that because this is actually an integer, this is a string. And when you're printing these out, they actually have to be the same data type. So to change that out, I'm just going to change this to be a string by giving it the str in front, and then it should print. So see, now that it's converted 4,000 to a string instead of an integer, these are like data types, and it will now print, right? So again, that's just a simple example of the print statement, how it's used, and why you might want to use it. So thank you for watching. Please feel free to like and subscribe, and yeah, have a good day.